Welcome back to the college lineup. I'm Eli.
And I am Carson. Welcome back to episode number 23 of the college lineup. Eli, as always, it's great to be back with you. Great to break down some college baseball games here. Do a little bit of a new segment tonight. First time we've done this. A little King of the Hill baseball 1v1 style, rapid fire style, if you will. And then, as always, we will do our series predictions at the end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our recap from this past weekend. The first game we predicted last week was Georgia Tech playing at North Carolina here. North Carolina ended up taking 2 out of 3 in the series here. They won the Friday night game 5-2, won the Saturday night game 14-4, and Georgia Tech snuck the last game on Sunday 5-2. Eli, you took Georgia Tech, I took Georgia Tech. Where did we go wrong with this pick?
Yeah, well, after last week, I kind of got bit in the tail, or 2 weeks ago now, about not picking Georgia Tech. So I went back and picked them, and it bit me in the butt. So Georgia Tech, you let me down. You let Carson down. You let everybody down here at the college lineup. Shame on you. But no, I don't know, man. It's just, I think it was a 2 and 3 seed going at it. And when that happens, it's always going to be a toss up. But it looks like North Carolina is not just one of the most complete teams in the ACC. I also think they're just one of the most complete teams we have in baseball as a whole right now. They're just firing on all cylinders, whether that be the pitching, whether that be the hitting, whether that be the fielding, whatever that may look like. They're doing everything at the best possible clip, I guess. They're doing everything 100% of the way, and they're not slacking off. And it's definitely showing here. So I don't think it's necessarily something that we went wrong. I think it's just more so of maybe we just had a little too much faith in the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
I think that's where we were at here. So when they played Florida State, that was a 2 seed Georgia Tech playing number 5 seed Florida State, and Georgia Tech swept that series and looked like they didn't even break a sweat doing it here. So I think we were just a little bit too high on the Yellow Jackets here. Still a great team, still a team that's probably going to host a regional come here in about a month and a half or so. But still, North Carolina, great showing on the weekend. North Carolina actually has moved up to number 2 in the rankings this week behind UCLA. Georgia Tech staying top 5 in number 4 now. So overall, going back, I think we both made a solid choice with Georgia Tech here, but I do think we just got a hair too confident on the Yellow Jackets this past weekend.
Yeah, I also think, though, too, I think Georgia Tech's going to bounce right back, and like you said, definitely going to be a regional team. If not, maybe make it into the Supers, and maybe even make it to Omaha. They just struggled with a little bit of consistency this weekend, but I think after seeing that and after playing a tough weekend, I think that they'll probably go in this weekend and have a really solid series overall.
Absolutely. So moving on into our second pick from last week, we had the Alabama Crimson Tide playing the Longhorns in Texas here. Texas did take the series. Texas won the Friday night game in outstanding fashion, 10-2. Won the Saturday game in a close one, 3-1. And Alabama snagged the third game of the series on Sunday, 2-1 here. Me and Eli both took the Tide here.
Yep.
Another maybe a little you think a little overconfident in Alabama?
Yeah, I think we just very much showed it showed the inconsistency of Alabama. Where they have been one of the hottest teams in the country the past couple weekends, but after last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I think they got swept or lost 2 of 3 last week or 2 weekends ago as well. And so because we talked about them, is it them or Texas that are going to have their get back or have their bounce back series? And obviously it ended up being Texas, but like I said, we just saw that inconsistency from Alabama where they are a dangerous team, but they are still just a little too inconsistent. But at the same time, I think like with Georgia Tech, I think they're going to bounce back. They're still, I think, in the top 20 if I'm not wrong. So it's a tough loss. Still not getting swept is the name of the game. That still keeps them very much so in the conversation, especially coming up, I think, in the last 4 weekends of college baseball. So I'm interested to see how much Alabama can grow from this and really make a good run, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was an Alabama team coming off of that series. They got swept
Okay.
in the Arkansas series the week before there, and this is a Texas team that lost the A&M series, the 2-game series. They were cut short due to the weather right there. So last week we were really looking at who's going to get their bounce back here, and we both leaned Alabama. Don't think it was a bad pick at all. You know, they had a great pitcher's duel on Saturday. Bama led that game most of the time, I think, until the 7th inning or so.
Yeah.
Then let up one bad inning, let up 3 runs there, and ended up losing that game. So, you know, 2 out of the 3 games were really, really competitive there, and that Friday night game just got away from Alabama. But overall, I think Alabama still got a lot to prove. They got Tennessee coming up this weekend, and then Texas goes to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt there. So another good showing, or another good opportunity for both of these teams to really show what they're made of, and just, you know, keep putting together good wins for a playoff and a regional resume there. So overall, not a bad pick, but I'll be interested to see how both of those teams play out in the next couple of weeks. So moving on into our third pick, we had Auburn at Florida here. This is a series that Auburn ended up winning 2 out of 3. Florida won the Thursday night game 6-3. Auburn won the Friday night game 5-3, and then Auburn also won the Saturday game as well, 8-5. So this is a series where me and Eli both took Florida here. We were a little too high on the Gators. Eli, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's another tough situation. It's one of those where we thought this was going to be another one we had in the bag, like the last 2 we've talked about. But there again, we just fell short. So, you know, everybody out there may not think we know what we're talking about, but again, it is rapid fire, a little bit off the cuff there. But I don't know necessarily if anything went wrong. It just seemed like Florida could not put it together this weekend against a struggling Auburn team, but also overall a struggling Florida team as well. So just like we were talking about Alabama, Texas, and them both coming off of sweeps, getting swept of sorts. Who was going to get that bounce back? I think really it was who's going to get the bounce back between Florida and Auburn. Is it going to be Florida or is it going to be Auburn? And obviously we both leaned Florida here, and we kind of got bit in the butt there by picking them. So so nonetheless, I think, you know, overall Auburn's shown, you know, spritz of greatness. You know, because they've been a pretty solid, if not pretty great team overall. But right now, they proved that they could beat Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, what really sold this pick was the fact that I was in Gainesville, right? This is an Auburn team that has been very spotty, but at the same time, they have had some very tough competition, even in their midweek games, playing teams like Georgia Tech and some other Alabama teams that are really, really, really good this year. As you know, Samford, they're playing them as we speak right now. So this is an Auburn team that's had to play really tough competition, but they've been very spotty. And so, and also with that being in Gainesville there, I was inclined to pick Florida here. But overall, this is what kind of a needed stamp of approval for this Auburn team this year. They move on to play Oklahoma this weekend, also in Auburn. Auburn is 6th currently in the rankings, and Oklahoma is 9. So that is going to be a great series. And if one that Auburn can pull out 2 out of 3, that'll be a big, big resume boost for them. So moving on into the 4th game that we picked last week, we did Ole Miss at Tennessee here. So Ole Miss did win the series 2 out of 3. They won the Friday night game 7-4, won the Saturday game 8-1, and then Tennessee snagged the Sunday game 13-5. So, Eli, you took the Rebels of Ole Miss. Yep. I unfortunately took the Tennessee Volunteers. Don't know why I would ever do that in the first place, but I guess that's where I went wrong to begin with.
I almost picked them. I was right there at the cusp of picking Tennessee, but I just couldn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't do it because it ended up paying off for me. But overall, it was a good series. Ole Miss just found ways to put it together and get the games they needed to be able to win this series. Tennessee, again, just so inconsistent. They haven't really put a good showing in, and honestly, you know, they're definitely feeling the back end of the Tony Vitello thing and him going to the Giants. But I think at the same time, it's really hurt them, but it's also hurt Tony Vitello because with the Giants obviously we don't really talk about the MLB here, but they have struggled. I think they're the worst team in the majors right now. So I think it was a lose-lose for both of them, at least so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see how they close out the season. Don't think they're really going to make a regional run. They may, but right now, unless they really string some games together, I think they're at jeopardy of not making a regional at all. Definitely not hosting one, in my opinion. So it is going to be interesting to see. But I think they're kind of sorts moving on to next year and seeing if they can put a better team together. But overall, good win, good series win by Ole Miss, and they keep chugging along, trying to make a name for themselves.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. And so I'm just going to say where I went wrong was picking Tennessee in the first place. Should have done it. Nothing good happens when you pick Tennessee.
That's right.
Moving on. Last game we picked last week was Central Florida at Cincinnati here, and Cincinnati did take 2 out of 3. Central Florida won the Friday game 7-1, and then Cincinnati won on Saturday and Sunday 9-3 and 11-9. So these are two teams that we usually really don't talk about here much on the college lineup, but thought it'd be fun to switch it up, and it was a pretty great series overall. Eli, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, Cincinnati very impressed me. I did pick UCF here. I thought they were going to be able to pull it out, but Cincinnati was able to string it together and win 2 of 3 there. They're playing pretty well so far. They haven't just knocked anybody's socks off by any means, but overall they're playing pretty good, and just as much as everybody else, they would like to hopefully maybe make a regional as well. But overall, I think it was a good series. But I think ultimately Cincinnati was the better team, and you can obviously see that as they won the series there.
Hey, I told you last week I wasn't taking Central Florida because of the whole self-proclaimed national champions thing.
Yeah,
that's what happened. They just put bad juju on their whole team when you proclaim yourself national
they'll probably
champions.
claim one this year.
They probably will, but it won't be in baseball, that's for sure. Cincinnati's going to get the best of them there. But anyway, that is our recap from our picks last week. And we also wanted to go ahead and talk about the UNA baseball team from this past week. We're not doing a weekly hunt segment this week. We are doing a different segment that you will see in just a second. But we still wanted to go ahead and highlight our UNA, University of North Alabama Lions baseball team from this past weekend. Sort of a disappointing weekend here for UNA here. They had kind of a faux little enemy in town by the name of Lipscomb, and UNA ended up dropping 2 out of 3 in this series. Lipscomb won the Friday night game 6-4. UNA won the Saturday game 6-2, and then Lipscomb ended up shutting out the UNA Lions 6-0 on Sunday. Eli, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, coming off a sweep of Austin Peay and then getting your get back against UT Martin the very next midweek game after you played them the midweek fall or before you played Austin Peay, and being able to beat the brakes off of them pretty good. That's always nice. You start off, you win 4 in a row right there, and then Lipscomb comes into your home field. And you're probably riding high thinking, let's win this series and let's really cement ourselves in the top of the leaderboards, at least in the gold division. But they just did not go perform at the caliber we would have liked them to. And it wasn't even necessarily a lack of hitting. The first game they had 7 hits. They just could not get the runs together that they needed. 4 runs isn't even bad, but if your pitching kind of falls apart there, it kind of gets tough. So they did end up losing that first game 6-4, and after that you're thinking, all right, UNA, you still got these 2 games, you can put it together. Me and Carson were actually at the game on Saturday, and they were able to pull that one out, and they got 6 runs to 2 there, and they got 6 runs on 6 hits here, where they could only muster 4 on 7 the night before that. But pitching was shut out. I mean, I think our starting pitcher made it through 7 innings. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he pitched a really, really good game. So that always helps when you can hold them. It's only 2 runs there, and then to close out the weekend, we just could not put timely hitting together, and we got beat 6-0. We only ended up mustering 4 hits there, but still not awful, not the best. You're looking for, 7, 8 hits to be ideal, especially if they're not timely hitting, and maybe 1 or 2 home runs in between that if all possible. But, not an awful weekend on offense there, and not even really bad by the pitching. Lipscomb just ultimately got the best of UNA here, which is frustrating and a little upsetting coming off of, a big sweep against Austin Peay, who was tied for first in the gold division with you and Lipscomb. But I think we're still right up there in the gold division. We may be a game or 2 behind Lipscomb now, but we still got 3 or 4 weekends left to prove ourselves. So I'm expecting UNA to hopefully bounce back this next weekend and hopefully get a win against Eastern Kentucky here. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest name of this series was timely hitting here. That Friday night game where Lipscomb won 6-4, all 6 of those runs came with 2 outs.
Yep.
They had 3 big 2-out hits, all scoring 2 runs each there. And then UNA had plenty of opportunities in that game, had multiple guys on in the 8th inning, multiple guys on in the 9th inning, bases loaded in the 9th inning actually there, and we just could not get anything out of it. So we were missing those big timely hits that Lipscomb was able to pull together there. And like you said, pitching on Saturday was great. Pitching got us the win there. And then Sunday just could not pull any hits together. Yep. So still a lot of season left here. I think we have 3 series left here. So overall, still a little bit of time to cement your place in the gold division of the ASUN before we move into the ASUN conference tournament here on May 19th. So overall, if UNA's pitching continues as is, it's pretty solid performance on the weekend.
Yeah,
no bad performances pitching-wise, but really we're going to need some timely hitting there. I do know one of their better hitters, the first baseman, P.D. Kroska.
Yep.
He did get hurt on that Friday night game. There was bases loaded. They threw a first pitch change up a little high, and he swung out of his shoes and ended up pulling a muscle there in his leg. So
yeah, I knew he didn't play on Saturday, and we were a little confused. So I guess that explains why he wasn't there.
I saw him swing on Friday night in that pitch, and he kind of grabbed at it a little bit, but they said that is why he wasn't in the lineup on Saturday. So overall, get healthy, have some timely hitting come back, and if pitching keeps doing what they're doing, I think UNA will be in a pretty good spot moving forward.
I agree.
All right, welcome to our next segment. We are going to be doing something new here. We're going to be doing This or That baseball team edition. So, Eli, are you ready?
Born ready.
All right, Arizona State or Arkansas?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Southern California?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Boston College?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Florida?
Florida.
Florida or Nebraska?
Florida.
Florida or Oregon?
Oregon.
Oregon or Southern Miss?
Oregon.
Oregon or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss or Kansas?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or Alabama?
Alabama.
Alabama or West Virginia?
Alabama.
Alabama or Auburn?
Alabama.
Alabama or Virginia?
Alabama.
Alabama or Coastal Carolina?
Alabama.
Alabama or Florida State?
Florida State.
Florida State or Texas A&M?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M or Oregon State?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M or Georgia?
Georgia.
Georgia or Texas?
Georgia.
Georgia or Georgia Tech?
Georgia.
Georgia or North Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina or UCLA?
North Carolina.
Okay, I like it. North Carolina coming out on top for Eli here. I like it.
Yeah, Alabama made a pretty hefty
They made
run
a dynasty run there. Surprised me. A couple picks surprised me. Not going to lie to you.
All right, well, now it's time to turn it over to you. And are you going to have Alabama going that far?
We shall see.
All right, so Arizona State or Arkansas?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Southern Cal?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Boston College?
Arkansas.
Arkansas or Florida?
Florida.
Florida or Nebraska?
Florida.
Florida or Oregon?
Oregon.
Oregon or Southern Miss?
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss or Kansas?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or Alabama?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or West Virginia?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or Auburn?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or Virginia?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma or Coastal Carolina?
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina? Whoa. Coastal Carolina or Florida State?
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina or Texas A&M?
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina or Oregon State?
Coastal Carolina.
Dang. Coastal Carolina or Georgia?
Georgia.
Georgia or Texas?
Georgia.
Georgia or Georgia Tech?
Georgia.
Georgia or North Carolina?
Georgia.
Georgia or UCLA?
Georgia.
Ah, so you're a SEC homer. That's what it is.
They are playing some elite level baseball right now. I think the Georgia train is a good stock to buy right now, if you put it that way. But
see, that's what I'm thinking about for North Carolina, though, because North Carolina just beat Georgia Tech, beat the brakes off of them. Maybe even should have won, swept the series.
Yeah, but they're 2 in the country right now. Their stock's too high. You should have bought into them a long time ago.
You think?
Oh, yeah. They're very well thought of. But they are a great baseball team there, and they kind of proved our point going back this past weekend with Georgia Tech.
Yep.
They are an elite level baseball team. Yep. So
you guys let us know who y'all would pick or who y'all would have as your king of the hill in this or that, and comment that down below wherever you're watching, or I guess if you're listening, can't really do that, but you can go to our Instagram and comment on the post that will be under that. We may do a post saying, this or that champion and see, and just post it and see if y'all want to comment on that and let us know who y'all got in your top 25, this or that. Welcome back to our next segment, Rapid Fire.
if you are new here, we do a rapid fire picks prediction series every week. Right now we are doing baseball series winners for the upcoming week. So we are recording this on Tuesday, April 21st, doing our series winner predictions for this upcoming weekend. So Eli, first game I'm going to throw at you is number 7 Texas A&M versus number 21 Florida.
Give me Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a pretty solid team, and I ultimately just think they're going to pull it out. They have definitely proven themselves worthy.
I'm going to go A&M here too. I think Florida is coming off a big weekend there with that Auburn series loss, so I think they're really looking for a rebound there. I really think they're at the point where they need to start having big resume builders. So I think they'll put up a fight, but I think this Texas A&M team is just too strong at 31-7 coming in there. So very disappointing weekend for Florida last week. They'll be swinging, but overall, this A&M team is too good. Give me Texas A&M there. Moving on, we have pretty even matchup here. 11 Auburn versus number 14 Oklahoma in Auburn.
I'm going to take Oklahoma here. Ever since Auburn played Alabama, it got pretty chippy. I just don't have it in my heart to pick Auburn right now. So even though I'm not even an Alabama fan, it's just if you're gonna talk that crap, you got to back it up, and they definitely did not back it up there. So I think Oklahoma is really good, and as you can tell, especially if you listen to the this or that, Carson is really high on Oklahoma as well. But I'm gonna pick Oklahoma to win the series.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Oklahoma here too. I think this is an Auburn team that is very capable of winning this series, but I just think this Oklahoma team is really strong, and I'm very big on them right now. So give me the Sooners here to win 2 out of 3. I don't think they'll get the sweep against Auburn, but I do think they'll win 2 out of 3 there. Moving on, we have number 4 Texas rolling into Nashville to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores.
I'm actually going to take Vandy here, which is very surprising, just because they haven't really shown a lot. They have shown streaks of greatness, but again, it was against a Tennessee team when they swept them, and Tennessee is not that good. But Vanderbilt was able to pull out the series win against Kentucky, and now it's pretty much do or die. I think out of the last 3 or 4 series, Vandy needs to win about 6 or 7 to be able to hopefully make a regional run. So I'm going to pick Vandy here. I think they're going to win 2 of 3. And Fennell, their Friday night ace, has really been pitching well the past couple weekends, so I expect him to do the same against Texas. And then all we got to do is pull out one more there. So I am ultimately going to pick Vanderbilt to beat Texas this weekend.
I don't think I have it in my heart. I think Vandy will get a great start from Fennell to start the series, but I just think Vandy's pitching has just been so bad. I don't think they can pull it out. I'm going to go Texas here. I don't want to pick Texas. It's not in my heart to pick Texas. but I do think they get it done this weekend. I think Vandy is grasping at straws for anything that will go right now, and that'll work against some games, and they'll have some timely hits in other. But I don't think they get it done this weekend, so I'm going to go the Longhorns against my heart and against my will there. Give me the Longhorns to go 2 out of 3 on Vanderbilt this weekend. So moving on into our last couple picks here, we have the TikTok sensation Wake Forest. If you haven't seen that viral Wake Forest baseball TikTok video, go check it out. Great video, 10 out of 10. But we have Wake Forest playing the semi-hot number 3 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Who you got?
This is actually really tough because Wake Forest has been pretty solid all season, and Georgia Tech, man, I just don't know how to pick for them because 2 weekends ago I picked against them, and they proved me wrong. This last weekend I picked for them, and they let me down. So 2 weekends in a row where we picked Georgia Tech, and 2 weekends in a row I have been wrong. So I am actually going to go against the grain here. And I'm going to once again pick against Georgia Tech. I think Wake Forest is going to go and win 2 of 3 against Georgia Tech, but I think it's going to be a very close series, and it may even end in some ninth inning magic.
I like where your head's at with this. I think this is a trap series for Georgia Tech. I really do, especially coming off the series loss this past weekend. They're kind of down in the dumps, ready to just have an unranked Wake Forest team and just kind of roll over them there. So I don't think it's a sweep either way. But I am going to go Georgia Tech here. I'm going back and forth on it, I will be honest. I think this is a very much so a trap series, but my guts tell me Georgia Tech. I haven't picked against them this year, so they haven't burned me. But I did pick them last week, and they burned me. So, yeah, I'm going to stick Georgia Tech. I'm just going to go with my gut. Georgia Tech was my gut feeling. Give me the Yellow Jackets to win 2 out of 3. I think they win the Friday and the Saturday games, but not the Game 3 game. So, with that, our last pick here, team I'm really big on, number 5, Georgia in Oxford at 17, Ole Miss. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Georgia. Last time I picked Georgia, they did end up losing the series, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe they won. I don't quite remember, but for some reason, I think I'm remembering that Georgia did let me down. But I am going to go ahead and pick them again because I think that they're going to have the firepower to be able to outlast Ole Miss. Again, I think it's going to be another close series. I think from here on out, most series are going to be very hard fought and very, very close. I don't think there's going to be many blowouts the rest of the season because everybody's trying to make their argument to be able to make a regional and maybe even host a regional. So I think Georgia is going to pull this one out. I think they're not quite going to sweep, but there's going to be some Game 3 magic for Ole Miss, and Ole Miss will ultimately win that game, but lose the Thursday or the Friday and Saturday game to Georgia. So long story short, I'm picking Georgia.
Well, if you were listening closely during this or that segment, I'm big on the Georgia Bulldogs. I think they are just powerhouse of a team. They put up 26 runs in the Saturday game versus Arkansas last week. 26. They are a nation leader in home runs. Give me Georgia to sweep Ole Miss in Oxford. They're going to walk in there like they own the place. They're going to hit home runs. They're going to have timely hitting. They are just going to beat the brakes off of the Rebels this weekend.
I hope so.
And if not, I'll come back on here to eat my words like I just said them. But I think Georgia wins this series big this weekend.
I can't wait to recap and again.
You're going to clip that part right there?
Need to.
Hey, only time will tell. I think it'll be a good series for Georgia, not for Ole Miss. But with that is going to be our last segment here on episode number 23 of the College Lineup. If you enjoyed, please feel free to subscribe wherever you're listening, Apple Podcast or Spotify. Feel free to subscribe, share with a friend. Go check out our Instagram or TikTok if you are not following us on either of those platforms there. We will have our rapid-fire recap up towards the end of this week so you can see who we picked and just kind of see how we did along the weekend. So with that, as always, Eli, it has been a lot of fun and a great episode, and we will catch you guys next time on the College Lineup.